All right, hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan, and today we are back for another chart stream. Hopefully you are all doing well. I am doing brilliantly. Obviously, you know, it's a momentous day today. It is the first time, I believe, from recent history anyway, I've been able to actually stream on a Monday. So hello to all of you. Okay, I've actually finally been able to come on and commit to the Monday stream. I've either been, doing stuff for, in the trenches. I've been doing other things. I haven't been able to do it on the Monday, and this is what I've wanted to do for so long. And it's been a long time. Okay, so obviously, I'm just happy to be here. I am also on Square. Square is actually working today. It's getting better. Okay, we're getting there. Binance, the biggest platform out there. Everyone knows their name, and they still can't manage to have a consistent streaming platform. However, it's getting better. So hello to everyone on Square. Hello to everyone on YouTube. Hopefully you're all doing well. Good evening to you all. Good evening to SNK, Kishan, KB. Thank you all for being here at the start of the stream. I see Triple B. I saw, if I scroll up, I saw Mr. AK, Wally. Hello to all of you. Hello to all of you. So, without further ado, let me start my timer. Okay, before I forget. I see a poll for should we mute KK. KK is a negative Nancy. KK is a negative Nancy. Anyway, without dealing with that, okay. CoinGlass, just want to look at the 24-hour rect value. 1.2 billion so far. 1 billion in longs liquidated in the last 24 hours across the board, which is pretty healthy. It's pretty healthy of a negation, majoritively in Bitcoin and Ethereum, as we would expect. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, top three dogs, obviously, we'd expect that. Jumping on to the actual prices right now, though, 107.055. So what I was saying last stream was, and we missed the low. I wasn't negative enough. I wasn't negative enough about Bitcoin and or Ethereum. I was all right with Solana, because obviously we talked about this last stream. I said Bitcoin and Ethereum, I could expect to still go upwards. Solana had already hit its area, or already hit a price where I was happy for it to continue back downwards, and Solana has done that, obviously, as done across the board. So Solana I'm happy with, Syrup I'm happy with, CRO, I can't remember what I said about CRO, but we've basically just gone straight down, so everything's gone straight down, obviously. But Bitcoin and Ethereum, obviously, I wanted to go a bit higher before we came down, obviously. We haven't done that, so we'll obviously look at it, but I was shy by, I don't know how much, about $700, a grandish, in terms of Bitcoin. I want to come to about 112, it came to about 111.3, I believe was the high area. So we will obviously look at that, but yes, we did go up a tiny bit more after the stream. I'm trying to find the screen, there we are. Before obviously we've come down. So 106.961 right now for Bitcoin. About 2.89% down on 24 hour, nearly 7% on the 7 days. So pretty healthy move down. Pretty sizable move down. 3,629 for Ethereum. That's about 86% move down on the 24 hour, and the 7 day is about 13%. With Solana, 166.94. I don't know. I'm trying to think of these numbers as I'm saying them in terms of if they're really specific or not. And Solana is about 9% down. Obviously, 16% down 7 day. So pretty big move downwards. If I go to Syrup, I will see that it is at 41.54. So what we said with Syrup was we had a major resistance. I don't know why. It's basically I had to move chart with Syrup because I was on Binance and it doesn't have enough data, and basically I couldn't really look at the chart properly because there wasn't enough data, and then I forgot to draw everything I had already drawn on my Syrup chart, and I hadn't looked at Syrup. I don't really look at Syrup outside of the streams, so I completely forgot about the resistance we had. So obviously drawing that on the last stream, we saw where we should come to. We came to it. We saw, we came, we went, or whatever. I don't know. We've come down from that area and quite sizably come down. Obviously right now about 5% down in the 24 hour, if it can go back to it, but it's just changed to the weekly, but we were about 5% down. Obviously, pretty sizable move down again. Obviously with Syrup, and obviously CRO has come down as well. Again, I think the across the board kind of understanding is going to be a bit down. Now, I think with CRO, it's because you can kind of see it within this weekly. You can see we had this really sharp move here, which I didn't really look at on the stream because it was kind of like it was one of these moves where it was like this really isn't a normal I'm not saying it isn't a normal move, but looking at the move on CRO, it was like, this isn't like, we came right up and right back down. This really wasn't a structural move, I really don't believe. And then we did this, which was hovering. And I was like, okay, well, we're hovering, we might go up a tiny bit more, because obviously I was thinking Bitcoin was going to do this, I was thinking Ethereum was going to do this, and obviously we literally went straight down for CRO. So we probably might have a look at that in the stream. I might leave it, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, that is the prices right now. That is also the liquidations, as we saw. I'll read the chat quickly, just see what's going on, and then I can go on to the charts. So let's see if anyone is speaking in Square. There are some people in Square, so hello to you all in Square. Appreciate you for joining the stream. I see Mr. AK got liquidated for $100 this month. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's like, you know, I think, to what degree of happiness do you take? It's like, okay, if I was to trade, and I said this, I actually might have said this last stream as well. I was like, I'd rather not long up to 112. I would rather trade downwards to 112 and follow the move down. So obviously I would have missed the trade. I wouldn't have entered anything. But I did want it to kind of come down from here. So, but obviously unfortunate. Hopefully the markets can treat you well next time, Mr. AK. But anyway, moving on to the YouTube chat. Let me see what people are saying. I already see Villain Bear here laughing at the poll. First chat from SNK. Listen, yesterday I saw a huge resistance wall with over 600 Bitcoin on 110,800 on the order book heat map of Bitcoin. I thought to myself, this is going to be some spoofing. Guess what? Sadly, it was real. So, is that during the move downwards from 111? I assume maybe it is as well. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about the heat map is it's like, I think it depends on what time frame you use it on. It depends on what you look at. I don't really use it myself. I can't really comment too knowledgeably on it. I have looked at it previously, and you know, it's kind of a thing where it's currently placed orders which don't necessarily have to be in play. It could just be something placed, and it's unfortunate that it happens. And you know, I know what you mean. Things can just get left. I mean, I think if anything, data-based in terms of just raw numericals or positions of trades, and looking at that solely, for me it would be obviously open interest. Obviously that doesn't really give you the position of where orders are placed. It kind of gives a sentiment as to what sort of positions are placed and what direction and roughly where they could be. Because again, you know, most of these websites which look at liquidations, it's an estimate based on the price of placement or the price at the time of placement and leverage, because there's not that much data you can look at. I've looked into it myself in terms of building little like bots and whatnot. There's not that much data you can actually get out of the surface level public APIs for most exchanges. It doesn't really give you. It gives you the trades. It doesn't actually give you realistically, you know, the exact value of the trade. I think it might give you the value of the trade. It doesn't give you the liquidation price or anything of that sort. So you kind of have to backdate it in a way in terms of data and whatnot. So yeah, that's I think CoinGlass says that themselves, obviously, but I think if anything, I would look at that if I was going to look at price placements. If not, for me, it would be open interest, cumulative volume delta, or you know, funding rate, those sorts of data points based on the futures side of things, which kind of orchestrates potentially what could happen during the market and what could be targeted, quote unquote. But obviously that's my opinion. Anyway, obviously good afternoon to Kishan, even to UKB as well. We have DMs, yeah. Don't like him. Everyone's just ripping into him. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's like, you know, it's you can have that attitude when it comes to market and just absolutely, you know, just a taunting mentality, which I mean, I don't personally want to do. You know, I don't think it's I wouldn't do it myself. You know, I don't think it really adds any value to anybody's lives. I think it might make someone who's very stupid very happy if they're, oh, I think it's going to go down as well, and if Villain Bear thinks it's going to go down, oh, I'm so happy, and he's like taunting people who doesn't think that, and it's like, you know, I mean, I'm sure, you know, someone might get might laugh out of it, but it's just surface level, really, and it doesn't really matter, and you know, I could understand it could upset people, but you know, I mean, if enough people want it changing, then obviously we can, you know, as the vote has been placed, you know, to silence and outcast him, like exile him from the Telegram. Anyway, I'm yapping. How much? Okay, been about 9 minutes. I think we're on track for a good stream. I think we're on track for a good timing of the stream. Let me check Square Chat one more time just to see if anything was said. No problem. It was free money rewards. Perfect then. Perfect. You've left the casino and you haven't lost anything. Yeah, you might have not won $1 million, but you haven't lost anything, so That's the most important part. Anyway, so this is my chart. This is what I had and I placed on Telegram. I wanted things to come to about 112. 112 was basically the target. Now, the top we got to was about 112 250-ish. So, obviously shy of where I wanted to, about $1,000, like I said. And then, obviously, we've come down. So, in terms of what I have to say there, again, obviously, null and void, basically. Obviously, like I was saying last stream, if I was to trade anything, I'll be trading us printing below this low, coming up towards to do a high here, and obviously be tracing downwards. So, null and void, basically, is kind of the system here. No trade is what it would have realistically been. If it's not there, it's not in the right situation, the right parameters to trade, then you don't do it. Fine. And then obviously that's it really. So we got as high as 112. All I can really do now is commentate on what's happened. We got up towards these highs. Obviously we did have resistance here. The main areas I was talking about last stream was this area here and then us coming up to here. I expected to see resistance here, but it was kind of a conflict of interest, because it's like, okay, this is a formation of, in theory, resistance starting from around about here, which obviously we did see resistance in this area here, spanning this area. Okay, now the obviously the kind of the idea of oh well, if this is resistance, then why would you go to here? Obviously might be a thing there. Obviously, considering the fact that this is actually in a valid area, you know, it's not like this was below equilibrium, so it's like technically this is a more than valid area to stop at. I just expected it to go a bit higher. Obviously that was my opinion. Obviously my opinion's wrong. My opinion's wrong. And then obviously we found resistance, and then we continued downwards. So coming from this, we have continued. Again, the difference I think for me with what we are doing right now is I think I'm happier to be a bit more negative now, because again the balance between what we had so far here and what I was talking about, I believe last stream as well, was okay, you know, we might be pumping upwards, and we might have come all the way from 100, whatever, where is it? Let me move this. About 116.5. We might have come all the way from 116.5 all the way down to nearing here. I think at the time of, obviously on Thursday, it had already printed, so this is obviously a different conversation here. But on I think it was more so on the topic of this, especially in terms of where the last lows were and where you actually print at. And, you know, the real kind of the heavy focus on looking at, you know, where you're printing, because again this looks really negative. You've come upwards, come down, come upwards. Look at this low, it's massively down, but you haven't printed past the low, so it still is in play. The ball's in play, you know. And maybe this is a naive thing to say. Maybe there's a better way of looking at the sentiment of the market. Maybe there's a better way of looking at the trend. But as I know it, it's the highs and the higher lows, the higher highs and the higher lows. Okay, that's all I know. So in a scenario where you've gone past this high and you haven't gone past your previous low, or in this case technically, you know, coming from, you know, this move, it's realistically that. But I mean, I just look at the most recent lows. It's around about there. Okay, let's just use the highest low, whatever. And from there, it's really a situation where, okay, well, as long as you go past this and don't go past this, all things being equal, you should go towards the highs again. And that's obviously what we did. As you can see, we go. I know obviously hindsight is a beautiful thing and whatnot. You know, I can say this with a lot more confidence than I would have said it XYZ. But obviously we came upwards. Then we started coming downwards, and then this is the thing. It's like there's two balanced criteria on both ends. It's getting past highs and staying above lows. That's the balance. And as long as you can keep on doing that, and I think for me, it's like, okay, what could determine? Well, obviously, I mean, it depends on how sensitive you are onto what we're doing. So again, technically, this could have been a low. It depends on where you see the low. You can see we kind of we started to clearly come down here and retrace, and then have this massive wick which didn't go past, and then we printed past it. So that could be your starting point. So obviously, you can see this gap got produced. The displacement downwards, printing past this low with this gap. Obviously, the idea is that should be a good area to enter towards aiming for lows. And you can see we filled it really nicely with this move and then dumped. This is a beautiful resistance. Obviously, we haven't come anywhere near it. We already had previous resistance down here, so it doesn't matter. Again, obviously null and void. But obviously coming from there, technically that is a significant low. We've actually had a bit of a displacement downwards, because a lot of these moves, it's like, do we consider this? These occasional down close candles in this period of moving upwards, is this realistically going to be a major low? You know what I mean? And obviously that's something for me to decide, or for you to decide. But I think a consecutive down close for a bit of a displacement downwards, an actual considerable low, to then move back upwards and then fail to get above anything, found resistance, and then continue down and print past that low. That's a bit of a reversal there. You know what I mean? That is actually a bit of a reversal. So either that be the marker, which it should be. That should be the marker, or it being printing above, not actually printing above the lows. Because again, if we had this reversal and stayed above this high and didn't have much resistance, and that's where the key component is for me, is the balance between what lows we haven't printed past and then what resistance we could have produced on the way downwards, or what we have above us, basically. You know, if we're at the very low and we haven't produced a new low and we're starting to go back upwards, what's going to stop us from going upwards? So for example, in this case, we had resistance here, we had this gap here, we had some previous gaps left over, we had this candle resistance, so we had a few points of resistance on the way upwards where it kind of makes sense that we're not going to go upwards. But again, this argument doesn't apply to this, because again, we already printed past this lows. We've already started that reversal and printed past major lows. This is clearly a situation where we've seen that major reversal. We've kind of seen that move down. But anyway, from there, obviously, printing past that low, coming back upwards, expecting towards maybe 112. In this case, obviously, apologies for the mic. Obviously, it wasn't in this case. It was towards about 111, about a grand lower. Seeing that resistance, obviously starting to come downwards. Massive move in this candle here as well. Massive move downwards with this. You know, in no space, in hardly any space of time, whatever the phrase is. About 5% move down, so pretty crazy there. And the most important part, I think, of any of this is us printing past this low 106. That's the most important part. Obviously, this was a previous support. You can see we produced this big old rejection block, whatever phrase, you know, we want to phrase it, whatever. Sometimes I say things that it feels icky. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. Wick here in this one, coming to the midpoint, so maybe a support point. Again, I don't really use these too often. I think it makes the chart a bit messy, and I don't really care that much about them. But I drew it this time, and you know, it wasn't too bad. As we can see, we're tickling onto it right now, finding a bit of support. Again, only really, as you can see on this way down, really just to have it coming through down here, coming up into this candle, and then start to come down a bit there. But in terms of our major move, you can see we've had that retracement, we've had that move down, and this obviously was above equilibrium, so this is a valid high here, moving really rapidly down towards past this low. This is now a valid move to consider coming back to. We have this massive area here, about 109. So looking at this here, anything above towards 108 should be a good area to target for that high. I think once you've done that low, it's not necessarily looking for a reversal, because again, you know, trading a reversal versus trading a trend is a lot harder, you know. And I think it's like you should knowledgeably trade the trend. You know, you should be conscious of situational awareness. You know, you should be conscious of where you are in the market relative to the previous move, relative where you are in the market relative to higher time frame points of interest. You should be aware of where you are, but also I wouldn't want to, you know, bet against the bet on a losing horse, or I don't know. There's a phrase somewhere which I don't know, which will match that. But anyway, in terms of the daily, I should probably look at some higher time frames. Actually, I'll finish off with the 4 hour here, and then I can move on to some higher time frame stuff. Anyway. So again, obviously this is going to be a very quick thing for me. Obviously, looking at this move, we have basically anything above this high is really going to be where we want to target for. So we can either look at this down move or anything previously. So clear as day, we have this massive area, which is going to be definitely very interesting for us to find resistance in. I mean, this is obviously going to be a great target if we want to see a lower high in theory. In terms of where we are, this obviously red lines is very messy, I know. We have obviously high, low, and mid here. The idea is obviously you want to print through that mid, you want to print through the bottom of it, finding resistance, start to reverse it to be a breaker. So you can kind of see we haven't done that yet, and I don't think we'll do that. I do think we might come up again. Obviously, not financial advice. Again, I'm not perfect, but in the idea that okay, well, we could have seen support here, trying to print through this low, and then we've kind of find resistance coming up towards the high end of things, similar to how we did back here. Again, we had a similar scenario. I don't know if I've got it on my chart. It might not be this one, actually. I don't know where exactly it was. Basically, we had a scenario round about here. I don't know exactly where I had it drawn. I think I've deleted it by now. Where we kind of had a reversal through it really easily. Obviously, we didn't start to come back upwards. Again, we had reason to stop with this support here, coming into it here. But in terms of the idea of us, we found the midpoint, and then we came towards here, and then we found resistance at the high, and then came down again. So on the idea of we could still do that. That is valid, and that being around 108.789. So we have something there. We have this previous gap which we use, and then have obviously come through now with this kind of whole balanced area here, which also the midpoint actually lies, obviously just an arbitrary area, lies pretty closely on towards 108.9. So we do have something here around about 108.8. I do think at some point, we want to see a lower high. We want to see normal structure. I think this isn't something crazy to say. And to see normal structure, we've had a very clear as day, beautiful move down. You know, a beautiful 5% move down, whatever it is exactly, coming from the high to the low, about 5.3% down. So clearly, we're going to want to, you know, do a high at some point, you know, do a lower high. So obviously that being the conversation there being where we're going to see that high realistically. So it's going to be, in my opinion anyway, it's going to be somewhere above 108.3 at least. It could go as low as, obviously, as we saw with this move here. I think the midpoint is about 110.9 somewhere over here. We saw barely anything above it. So again, paying on to that idea, we obviously have the area coming to about 108.8, 108.9. So I think towards about 109k could be a good area maybe to come up to for a high. Obviously dependent on how low we come if we continue downwards. Again, I don't want to bet on a reversal here, but in terms of if I was going to see any sort of reversal at any point soon, it would be us coming into previous support areas and seeing us come past lows. So because again, I'm not looking for a reversal if we're here. You know what I mean? In terms of us already starting a down move, producing a high, which is a valid high by the way, because we're above equilibrium, and then coming down past low. This is valid movement. You know, this is we've done a true high, and we've actually produced a new low coming through 106.3. So, in terms of not exactly betting on the horse or betting against the whatever, I don't know. I need to think of a phrase better than what I've just said there. But the idea being the what we can check off on our checklist to see. Okay, are we going to stop here? Are we actually going to go up again? And that being producing a new low, coming to an actual support point to stop that low, and then going upwards. And I think we kind of have that checkbook because again, I've adopted the maybe foolish ideology of obviously things go up until they don't, things go down until they don't. You know, in terms of there's always a reason for something to be stopped at a certain area. Now it could surpass that area, it could come lower than that area. You know, nothing's ever permanent. There's never permanence. There can be consistency, especially on the higher time frames where you can come to an area multiple times over, but it doesn't. I think it's more of a binary operation in a sense where when you kind of utilize that area, it's kind of like you can use it again, but realistically you want to look at the fresh, new, actual points of interest. So obviously that being, okay, on this idea, we've come down till we don't. Well, we've come past these lows. We've actually come into a potential support area. And again, we haven't really tested this area apart from once here. So again, I'm not saying we're going to stop right now. We could come even lower. We could come towards 104.7. I'm not saying we do. Obviously not financial advice, but I'd have to obviously look at lower time frames to see how we're doing. And for me, that would be obviously continuing from the high to low, coming upwards into this area and then coming downwards again. So that could be something to pay attention to. But again, realistically on the 1 hour, you know, in terms of this, we haven't come above any highs. So realistically, you know, it doesn't mean we can't come downwards again, but in terms of this whole move, I'm not expecting it to not really. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't hold on to what we're doing here, especially for the fact that this move we've kind of come into a support point here, or potential support point area, and come upwards. But again, we have kind of come up into this area and have started to come back downwards again. So the expectancy is we've done a low here, we've kind of come upwards, moved past this low again, come upwards into this area here on the 1 hour, and have started to come downwards a bit more. We could maybe see something continuous downwards, but I think the safest bet for me would be to say where we're going to get to if we go upwards, which will be, I reckon, towards about 109k. Let me see the chat, okay? Let me check the Square chat first. I want to see what people are saying. There's actually some chatter. Bitcoin touched all-time high. It won't come up from 102k. I see Bitcoin under 100k. Yeah, I think there's a poly market. I think I saw it in our Telegram. Someone posted. I can't remember. Someone posted in the Telegram. Poly market above. I think it was above 50% to go below 100k. I could see it. I mean, I just think it's like, you know, I've talked a higher time frame for a while, and I think, you know, I would never want to, you know, looking at charts. You know, I want to stick to the guns. You know, I don't want to just you know, hop the fence. You know, I don't be a fence sitter. You know, if I've got an opinion, I'm going to say it. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. And I'm going to say that. And I've done that on stream. So if I've been wrong, I'm wrong. And obviously, that's why we say not financial advice. This is why I'm not a financial advisor. You know, it's a game of consistency, not perfection. But, you know, I think it's, in terms of what we looked at on the hard time from anyway, going back to my point, was there is that potentiality. I know we have talked about previous streams towards about 93k, 90k, towards that area. Now I know there's a lot of people who don't agree with that, and that's perfectly fine. There is some people who agree with that. Obviously, that is also fine. I can probably glance at it quickly before we go to Ethereum. Again, I normally spend about 30 minutes in the intro on Bitcoin. It's normally what happens. So we've got quite a bit of time anyway. So yeah. Anyway, I could see it definitely below 100k. Futures Bitcoin 200k. I don't know. Oh, you mean in future? Maybe I'm trying to interpret two words and a number. Futures Bitcoin 200k. That could be Bitcoin futures 200k. I don't know what that means. Or it could be in Bitcoin's future. Do I see 200k? I'm going to interpret it that way. Hopefully that is the right interpretation. If not, please resend your message with a bit more words, please. I mean, maybe. Yeah. I mean, if given enough time and given enough consistency, as long as long term we aren't actually moving in a massive downtrend, which we aren't, by the way. We are in a massive move up. We are continuously doing a massive uptrend on the higher time frames. So these moves are all relative to what time frame you're looking at. Obviously, if you're on the 1 second and we have a 1 hour move downwards, it's going to look like the end of the world. But if we're going on the weekly and the monthly and we actually see what we're actually doing, we're doing perfectly fine. So I think as soon as we hit these low levels and people think the end of the world's here for Bitcoin, that's not the end of the world. I mean, people think it's the end of the world now for Bitcoin. I don't think so at all. So it's like, once we hit these areas, it's just about, you build this checklist. Well, I do anyway. Obviously, I'm not saying this for everybody. Obviously, there's professional traders out there who do different things. But I like to try to build a checklist of, if this, then that, type of thing, where like, okay, if this is happening and we're in this sort of position, then I should expect maybe towards, or I should lean towards the idea that we should do X, Y, or Z. AK being, if we go towards 90k, 93k, sort of towards these areas, on a long-term move downwards, in terms of us, we've had a massive move upwards from whatever the price was, move down towards 90k for a big old low. What should we expect then, if we are continuing to trade a trend? Because again, I don't want to bet against the market here. If we're continuing a trend, where should we expect for a higher? We've done a higher high, we have a low, we have a higher high, and we have a higher low. Where should we expect then? A higher high. In theory, obviously not financial rights again. So, based on that idea, as soon as we hit into these areas and we start to actually respect them, it should be the expectancy on the long term that we go even higher. So again, if we continue what we're doing right now on the higher time frames, with enough time given, we could get to 200k. But obviously there could be some other things which stop that. Obviously, we'll see as we go along. Say something bearish about Bitcoin. I am bearish till yesterday. Until yesterday you were bearish. Does that mean you're bullish now? Or in terms of since yesterday you were bearish? Because again, obviously, it depends on what scale you're bullish. Are you bullish in the sense of what we've done here? Because I will agree with you. Are you bullish in the sense of what we've done over here? I might not agree with you. You know what I mean? And maybe not. Obviously, high time. I will look at the high time. I know I'm yapping a bit. I've got 3 minutes until 30 or half past. I do want to look at some high time frame stuff because it's high time frames. You kind of want to pay attention to it, so I will do that. Weekly, daily for Bitcoin. Then we can move on to Ethereum. So let me look at the YouTube chat, see what's going on over here, and then I will go on to high time frames on Bitcoin, and then we can have a look. Snake is back here. What's good, man? What's good to you? Thank you for being here. I'm not a sleeping bear. I'm resisting sleep. Can't miss another live stream. Appreciate it. We'll switch to a 1 week time frame and let us see the trend lines. Yeah, I can have a look at the week. I'm going to go into it in a second. I'll show you, and daily as well. Maybe you meant the daily. I'm going to look at the day of the week in a second. Who's going to smack the bear of 220k? All shorts will get liquidation. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, hey, maybe I'm on the wrong side of the fence here. We'll see. 150k Bitcoin boom. Right now. I mean, 150k right now. I don't know, man. Maybe you've got the source and I don't, and you know what I'm doing, and I don't. So maybe 150k. During November, 150k here we come. I mean, I don't know what sort of move up that would be to 150k. I would love to see what sort of move up that would be towards about 150k. That would be a 40.5% move up in November. And obviously, we've printed negative in October. And I think this is. I think the negative print in October. I think it's arbitrary. I don't know if it's really. I mean, it's only really happened. I think was it twice, and then the first time was in like 2014. And then it was like 2018 or something. I can't remember. I can't remember what month it was. It's like it's happened twice, and then I think I agree with the idea that you to look at previous happenings month by month on Bitcoin or the market, and then try and apply that to what we have in the future. I agree with that. I think, and this is my personal opinion, and there's not really too much data to go behind what I'm about to say here. In terms of going based on previous action, I think the market situation and the sentiment and what is in play when it comes to Bitcoin, as an example, I think is slightly different between 2014 and now. So I think the market situations to be negative in October in 2014 is different to being negative in October in 2025. So, but obviously 2018 was more recent, and I believe that wasn't one of them not negative. So I think even though if October prints negative, we're gonna go down. And I think that people only really base that on the idea that pretty much every single time October's printed positive. So, you know, I think it's a bit. I don't know if it's actually that consistent. You know, we'll see. Obviously, I mean, we're obviously coming down now, but we'll see how as November goes. Anyway. Let me see this. I'm gonna take a long on Bitcoin right now. Think how long I'm going to cash in, but I mean, that's the thing. It's like I don't want to. It depends on where he's longing. You know, is he longing up towards resistances, or is he longing long term to 150k? I wouldn't personally long to 150k right now, but hey, I might be an idiot. I might be a stupid idiot. Like 7:33. Is there a Discord server? We do have one. I'm not gonna lie, I have not been on the Discord for ages, and there's not really that. I don't know that many people in it. We had Telegram. I think we had at the very start. We had a poll on the community area in terms of having a Telegram versus a Discord, and I think Telegram won. I think that's why we started on Telegram and not on Discord. But we do technically have a Discord. Technically, I don't know if Mike sent that. Yeah, we voted. Yeah, exactly. So basically at the start, we just said, like, do we want to keep it on Telegram or keep it on Discord? Because we had Telegram already, and then we were thinking of migrating to Discord, because again, Discord's got more functionality. Although I say that, obviously Telegram is quite functional when it comes to bots and whatnot. But you know, Discord was kind of there. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really been on Discord. Well, I know it's changed a lot. So I mean, I'm not really in Discord myself too much. But we do have a Discord, yeah. Must have missed on the vote. Yeah, I think it was basically at the start. It was very early on. I don't know when exactly it was, but we did vote. But we did have a Discord. So maybe, you know what? Maybe I'll get. You know what? I'm gonna see if we can revamp it. You know what? After the stream, I'll do my stuff I need to actually do. I'm doing a video tomorrow, so that's kind of also why I'm not streaming tomorrow and I'm streaming today. But I'll see if I can revamp it and actually get it a bit updated. You can do a lot of... Yeah, exactly. I think... And that's what I'm saying. Discord's... There's a lot more functionality. There's a lot more capability. And I think, you know, obviously Telegram does have that, and it's kind of building there. And I think to be the community hub-based social media that Discord could be or Telegram could be, you kind of need to have everything from every other competitor. So like Discord, you know, I think that's what Telegram's doing. Obviously Telegram's adding a bunch more functionality, but I think it's a lot more smoother on Discord. I think Telegram's a bit more, I don't know if Telegram really meshes well with that sort of functionality, but I think Discord's a lot more functional when it comes to it. But anyway, different topic. I'm going to jump to the Square chat now and see if anything... that's just the market cycle, but crypto is fast reversal tomorrow. October was up. We touched Bitcoin all-time high. But in terms of where we printed, I think is where we did print negative, right? I'm pretty sure. I'm not lying about that, right? Let me hide some of this crap. Yeah, this was it. Yeah, this obviously was October. So in terms of, I think we did obviously go upwards. I think we came past all-time high and didn't print. I think it's kind of a good indicator as to really what's going on. Although we did that last time, we did, you know, we came up one more time. But you know, obviously we'll talk about that. But yeah, I mean, I think what they base it on is I don't really look at it. I don't really know the people who look at it, but I just know that it's where it prints, if it prints negative or not. So I think that's really where it's at. But anyway, looking at let's go to the weekly here. I don't know if I've looked at the weekly in a while and what I said, but I know I've looked at this. I know this was relative time to October, and this isn't. But I don't care about that. Okay, I don't care because I'm looking at just what we're doing. Okay. And you know, obviously each one of these times we've done a high and then came down to do a low. There's been a reason for it. So for example, obviously in this case we came past this high and then actually immediately stopped. Obviously in this case, going from 73 to 109 obviously is a bit of a bit of a difference there in terms of where the high stopped. But clearly, this was us starting to go back upwards realistically. And obviously, with this case, you can see we finally printed and then retraced to do that higher low. Because obviously, all in this case, we weren't really in an uptrend like this. You know, we had our period where we've come down pretty heavily. And obviously, you can see from here. And this is why I was talking about the idea that, you know, obviously, about 200k Bitcoin, and you know, can we do it? I think as long as we're not really printing past 74k, I think we're happy days. You know what I mean? Because and this is why I'm not really, I don't really care the individual moves. Like, okay, well, what, you know, well, this is during October and this isn't, but this is just the move upwards. You know what I mean? So this is why I'm looking at it. But obviously, the reason I've been talking about this obviously has been towards about 92k, towards basically towards this low, about 98, just coming towards this low. Obviously, coming from the low to the high and having a higher low to then go even higher. Because again, calling for lower is only to allow Bitcoin long term to continue to go upwards as it's doing. You know what I mean? And I think if we can have a deeper low, which is a lot more fundamental, I think it allows for Bitcoin to be in a safer space to go upwards and be safer to go upwards. Because if we have a bunch of highs which are all in close vicinity to the all-time high, and then we have a wick past that all-time high and we don't print and we start dumping, how much easier it is to get past that low and start to print negative and actually start to come downwards fundamentally than it is when you have a significant low here, significant high here, and pump. Because obviously in this case we had this move, we did have obviously these lows, and technically yes, oh well, we have the high, the low, the high, we printed down. But realistically, fundamentally, we have obviously low here, high here, low here, high here, low here, high here. So it's like realistically that most significant low to most significant high is going to be 74 to 128. So for that to and again obviously, if we did this move, had this move down towards where we're going towards, you know, what people think here, and we don't really have that main low where we've come down and come upwards again, and we have our low here. Obviously, I know we've whipped past this high multiple times and whatnot, but we're going to start to have these highs which aren't highs anymore, and these lows which are very close to each other, and we're going to start printing through these, and we're going to start going negative. And that is kind of the worry. You know, that's kind of something I don't really want to see. But I don't really think we should worry about that, because that's not what we're doing right now. Because I think over this period, it should be towards that major low, which is kind of the only reason I've been talking about 90k. And I've been talking about 90k obviously since roundabout over here, maybe, or somewhere over here. I can't remember exactly what date it was, but yeah, that's kind of realistically where I want to see it go to for Bitcoin. I know I was asked for the daily for the trend lines. Now, I don't really draw too much trend lines, and I will actually have to draw trend lines on a different chart because I have a very messy chart. So I can draw trend lines. I don't know where you want me to draw them from. Maybe I know Mike has. I know there's this one. Maybe there's something like this one. Like there's a one of these sorts of trend lines. Maybe. I don't really know. I'm not a trend line type of person, realistically. So maybe it's one of these. I don't know. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's that. Oh, look, we come up, come down, and then we were supposed to go towards. You know, maybe we were supposed to go towards 90 something k, based on this move. Maybe, I don't know. But there you go. There's trend lines. I don't really look at it. Let's go to Ethereum. Okay, let's just move to the actual chart. Okay, so same. And this is what I said in the intro. Same story with Ethereum. I wanted to go higher. We didn't. So we can see we kind of came upwards. The stream was going to be here-ish time, about here. I was like, okay, I would like to see it come a bit, at least towards maybe 3,000, 4,000. I remember marking this. I think this was somewhat on the daily. It was this, about $4,000. So I think it was starting at least about 3,905 from this period over here. Obviously this coming into this area here and then pumping downwards. You can see we retraced into these areas multiple times and then found resistance. You can see we have this low here which we retraced onto with this move and it came down. So it's going to be around about here with this kind of where we opened with, where we printed was resistance there. Obviously in this case it was more so much on the weekly order block here. You can see we have finally got past this here and start to come downwards. So we obviously didn't get above towards these areas, and obviously we've come downwards. And again, most importantly, printing past this area here. Now, what I'm actually interested in is to see what this is. So this is going to be this. Actually, I need to mark this. I want to see where that's going to be, just to see where that's going to be. I've just said something 3 times. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm malfunctioning. I'm going to guesstimate that the midpoint's around about there. Actually, I think that might be really wrong. It wasn't that bad actually. It's about there. Let's just like shimmy that. It's roughly estimate. I don't really care. Okay, that's just rough estimate. So I just want to see like where the midpoints are going to be for this sort of move. So this was obviously support, which obviously we kind of come into previously and did our thing. So you can see we kind of started to print past that midpoint. It's kind of similar thing I was saying with Bitcoin in terms of printing past that midpoint, starting to get towards that low and trying to find resistance within what we're doing right now. With Ethereum's case, in terms of where we have actual support in terms of daily kind of time frame, it's not on Bitcoin. It's kind of overlapping here. It's kind of overlapping into this move down we've had, into what we've had previously, and with obviously Ethereum we have this period. Now actually what I will say about this is we do have this move obviously printing past this low and then printing upwards here, and you can see with this high we kind of found a bit of support within this, and then obviously we've printed through it here, and then obviously with this low of this main area, I draw it on, and this thing I need to figure out actually. I've always drawn these on lows, but I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing that, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, this one again, with this actually move upwards from this low, we can see didn't really get past that main the main high of these two candles. So it's only this one we really printed through, came upwards and continued. Obviously we had a little bit of a gap here previously, which we kind of filled here, which we didn't really get any lower than that, and then continued upwards. Again, really slowing down here. I don't know if we had anything on the 1 hour. I can't remember what I looked at. I think I was looking at this move upwards here into what we had previously, into our previous area, and then I think I was looking at this low, or the open of this candle, which then retraced back upwards, and then obviously the low of this one, and then seeing that resistance on the way downwards. And I think I drew this low to find out where we saw resistance, or draw that low here, and I've done previously as well, where you kind of have this move downwards consistently on the way down. So I think I drew this one there as the last kind of candle there before we moved downwards. So drawing that low, we did see resistance below this. I think that's what I did. But again, I don't really look at the 1 hour time frame on stream, so I didn't look at this. But we did have this little gap here with this candle, technically. So maybe that's what I could have looked at, but I didn't look at that, so no point talking about it now. So you can see again, going back to what we're doing now on the 4 hour, we have that low. Obviously, we printed through. Fine, perfect. Actually, that was what the resistance was. I just realized. So we obviously found resistance there. I actually will still delete it. I don't really care. I'll delete this arrow as well. Get out of the way. And yeah, so we have this main. I think what I'm kind of looking at right now is what we have mainly here. I am gonna still look for a move upwards. Even though we can see we've moved past this midpoint and printed lower than this, and we're seeing a move downwards, similar to how we're seeing with Bitcoin now. I'm still going to be talking about the idea of us coming back from this low and seeing our low point here, maybe finding a low point on the bottom end of this support point, and then finding a bit of a high here towards where we could potentially see roundabout up into here. It's going to be anything above towards about 3,730. Again, this is kind of really a glaringly obvious area, I think, in my opinion anyway, is going to be that area, especially coming past all this on the daily here. I don't think we'll probably see somewhat of a retracement. Considering the fact this is also a daily support point, we want to kind of match this into the daily here, and we still haven't printed for anything. So what we maybe could see is throughout the rest of this 4 hour candle is a retracement back up towards maybe midpoint, printing at it, maybe finding some support, and then coming back upwards into finding that lower high, what we could potentially see on the lower time frames in theory. But obviously we're getting close to some good areas here. Obviously we've had this from the high to the major low here, getting towards that 0.5 area on the way downwards. Again, we are obviously talking about the idea of us coming towards 2,800, 2,900, which I've talked about previously. I think we've talked about. I don't know if KB. I think I remember ages ago. I think we were talking about 2,800, but again, that was a long time ago. Things can obviously change. So with this, obviously, is really kind of what we're talking about. We obviously had this main area here as well, which we've been looking at plenty of times as well, which I think would be an important thing to print above on the weekly. But again, it is Monday, so that will obviously happen during the span of the week in theory. So I think daily we could, if we can see that support, I do want to see that retracement. That will be spanning towards, something within the scale of 3,800 mark. Into this area, I think is realistically just what I'm going to leave off with. Probably towards about 3,800 is what I would leave it with, especially considering this is a open gap here. This is the top of this candle. Obviously, we have this move upwards, which obviously we had this gap here. We didn't really see support in this area, but we have seen previous resistance with this. So clearly, this is going to be the range here to find resistance. This will be the top end of resistance. This is also the opening of this gap. So I think as long as we're printing below that high, finding resistance in this area at 3,800, I think would be good. Obviously, coming into mainly, I know I'm talking about this area being quite low, but I'm mainly talking about the overlap of what we have in these into these two ranges. Obviously, we had this range here. We printed through it with this, and we can see we kind of used it for a while, especially with this area, and then obviously we've printed through it now with this candle here. So I definitely think this is going to be an area here at least about 3,800. Obviously, I know last time I said something about coming towards from where we are coming upwards. We then obviously didn't do that with this, but I do think we would want to see a retracement regards from this area. So we'll see how we do. Obviously, we have printed below this daily midpoint here, and are seeing a bit of resistance in this 4-hour candle. But again, we've got 3 hours to print this. It's not a permanent candle yet, so again, as long as we haven't printed it, then I'm not concerned about it. Let's see, monthly. I'm reading the rest of the chat. That might be on Bitcoin. I'm trying to think if that's going to be on Bitcoin. I don't know when. You know what would be nice if YouTube gave timestamps, because I know for a fact, because obviously I've interacted with the YouTube chat for the game, and I know they have timestamps. Wait, there is a timestamp, isn't there? I swear they show it. I swear they show the timestamp. Because I can't see it on my end. I have the YouTube chat on the left, and I can't see timestamp. I don't know when that was sent. I'm assuming it was during, because obviously you're a Bitcoiner. So I'm assuming that's a Bitcoin thing to look out on the monthly. I don't know though. I'm pretty sure it's going to be. What I can do, I'm going to get through. If I get through Solana, again, I normally glance at Syrup and Crow. I'll go back to Bitcoin and have a little look at. I like to look at what people are looking at. Anyway, jumping to Solana. So this one was obviously a bit better because again, we've already talked about where we kind of came from. I think I talked about this off stream. Oh no, I did it on Saturday, didn't I? I'm pretty sure I streamed Saturday because it was a very important stream because obviously it was monthly close. I assume it was anyway. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we had that move. Obviously, we came above equilibrium. We had a 1 hour thingy. Oh, I remember talking about this. I think this was for the screenshot I sent on Telegram. We obviously had this previous area. I think I think I sent this in Telegram. I don't know if I should talk about it on a stream. We touched into it, whatever. We've come down. Okay, we've come down. So obviously this was us talking about it in this phase. I was like, okay, well we've had that. We've already had this move down. Okay, we've had that move down. We've come into previous support. We've already had this move down. Now obviously the main thing for me was this was a main low, and we hadn't printed that low yet. Obviously, with Bitcoin and thing, we did. So for me, it was a case of even though I was talking about retracing, because then we had a massive expansion downwards with this massive area. We hadn't done that low yet, so it's kind of I think I remember saying on stream, it was kind of a thing where I'm talking about this, but we haven't done that low yet. So let me be careful with what I say here. But regardless, I did talk about us having this retracement here. So we did come up into this area with this main candle, especially kind of tickling downwards. And most importantly, I don't care whatever this is right here, we have printed past that low. And again, I will say very rapidly, 12%. And not only have we printed past this low, we've printed past this main low. Now, what is interesting about this low is this is the low of all lows. This is the main high from 237 all the way to 168. On the idea that we have that retracement, we have that midpoint. Obviously, same thing we did with Syrup here, where we actually formed support in this order block here on the way upwards, where we found support, and then we finally came above equilibrium one more time, finding resistance, which we formed here, and then we've come downwards, and now we've printed past this low. So we're going to find our low, and on the idea that we want to come upwards and produce a lower high. And this is obviously going to be mainly a daily thing I'm going to be talking about here, because obviously it's a high time. I do need to clean this chart up a bit, I'm not going to lie. So we have this daily point on the, I think I've already drawn out previously. Yeah, this is a very good one here. I don't know what this is here. I think this was I don't know what this was actually. I think this was, it was, okay, yeah, I know what it was. It was basically, we had this move past this high, and we used it as resistance here, and then we printed past it here. So obviously this now being a support point, you can see we reversed it, found support, came upwards. So obviously this being a support point, which obviously we used previously to form this propulsion area here where we came down into it. We also whipped past these lows, which obviously adds onto the confluence. We then pumped upwards, printing past this high here, and then using it as support. So these two lines here are very good support points in theory. And then I have this low, I think it was just a low to target pass. I don't think it's anything significant. Oh no, this is a order block on the weekly. Right, okay. So we've got a lot of support where we are. Obviously, we're eating through it because, again, obviously on the weekly, we're kind of sitting through this midpoint here pretty strongly. Again, obviously, after we've dumped now. Coming past all these higher lows here on each one of these weeks. Really pretty important to come past this. I definitely think we'll find support and then retrace into this massive gap we have here on the daily. So we have only just about entered into this support point at 165. You can see we're kind of holding on to it here, kind of floating on it right now, about 3. I would be very surprised. I mean, I wouldn't be very surprised if we printed at this and started to kind of come upwards here. But most importantly, on the play-by-play. Now, okay, the important thing is here is going to be, we actually haven't, this is a daily range here. We have the high to low, we have the retracement, we have the move down. We haven't printed yet, so that's the most important thing, okay? And also, you know, we've only just got past that low, so I wouldn't be surprised if we had a bit more of a considerable move down. But what this means is it's going to be, I'm going to be looking at this move, okay? Actually, it's not that bad. You know what? I made it out to be a bit worse than I thought it was going to be. Let me actually go to a different chart and redraw a bit more. So it's going to be something... Uh-oh. Okay. So, there's a dilemma here. Now, this is what I said this at the time. I said, I don't know if I want to draw the range low on the massive wick we had. Because, again, there's been some platforms, I'm not going to name anybody, but they might be a platform I'm streaming on that had issues, to say the least. Now, what I've done, what he's done there is, okay, I've gone to a different Solana chart, right? And the issue with doing that is, I've then now realized that low, which I've just been harping on about, going, well, actually, out of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, we actually might print past this low. But this means we might have a bigger move up for Solana than anything else. Well, on other platforms, that low was actually 130. Now, what I'm going to say about this is, considering the issues I know somebody had, not to name any names, they know who they are. The platform, obviously, the platform's not watching. The issue with this is this is now a technicality of, oh, is this the low or is this the low? Because that really deems what I'm about to say. So actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write it off. I'm just going to ignore it, really. I'm just going to go, I don't care about this main move. I'm just going to talk about the 4 hour. That's the only thing I can do here, because the 4 hour is going to be the only thing which makes sense in terms of this. So that's all I'll talk about in terms of, we've had this downtrend, okay? So we've had that move down, we've had a move upwards, a very considerably weak move upwards. Actually, no, I lied. We've had these reversals. In terms of actual move upwards, we've done fine, okay? So in terms of relative high, because we had these highs and then we came upwards, so I would probably argue that it was this main move here. I'm just going to do it there. Either way, the difference is negligible. And that move is going to be this here, somewhere into support. Now, wherever this may be, I'm going to deem equilibrium going to be above 177, okay? So main point is, what I'm trying to make there is, this is going to be a valid area. Now, what I'll say as well is, we have this move upwards, which resulted in this wick pass and a dump, okay? So I am also going to be paying attention to this low. Now, I know I draw on the open, I draw on the low here. It's, you know, it's a bit of a flaky one. But I'm just going to draw that there, which is 182. Pretty much on the dot. So 182 is going to be a very good price there, I do believe. That's about the midpoint of this gap. That's also the weekly high point of this support resistance area, whatever that is right now. But we have very massive move downwards. And obviously it depends on where we stop at, depends on what we do on the way downwards. We do have a little bit gap here. And again, we've had this previously where, you know, this might not be the significant low, but again, we've had these scenarios where we kind of see a bit of a system like that, where we don't necessarily see a major continuation from a lower high at a point lower than equilibrium, but you still respond off it as a point of a sell area, if you will. So obviously we're going to pay attention to that, but mainly going to be the main area above 177, which is going to be about $180, 181 or 182, which could be a higher point anyway. So that's probably what I would say for Solana, being this move upwards to move downwards. But I'm not very impressed with the daily in terms of this major low. But obviously we are starting to come into areas of support. Well, interesting as well, this low of this support is actually, I think, maybe around about the midpoint of this support point. So even about 165, 160, that range, I think, at least towards 160 will be very strong. So even if we don't stop here, it'll be somewhere there. Let's say worst case scenario, we go there. Ethereum's 174 still. So I do think 180 could be a good target towards Solana. But 180, obviously I know I had 182, but at least coming up until validity, if you know what I mean. Anyway, that's Solana. I think today's a bit of one of those streams where, as I've said this previously, where you have streams where I say a lot of words. I say a lot of words anyway, But in terms of a stream where I give a lot of directional opinion, obviously opinion, not advice, and it's more of a thing where I'm talking about something which could happen, and then there's a lot of times where there's a balance. Like this stream, I think there's a balance where it's like, okay, I'm not just looking at what's happened, I'm responding off what's happened. So I think we're kind of in the middle here. So there's not as many words as I would expect with a stream like last one, for example. So that being a retracement. And I think across the board, every coin's gone down. Every coin's kind of done the same scenario. Every coin's done its own thing, or every coin's done the same thing, obviously in its own way, dependent on percentages and market caps and all this malarkey, right? So I think the opinion should also realistically be within the same ilk, being potentially finding a retracement after producing that low. We'll find our low. I don't want to bet on a reversal, but I'd rather bet on a continuation being that low, or being that lower high, I should say. So anyway, going to strip here, I have actually marked out the real chart I've been using. So going to the 4 hour here, we can see it in a bit more detail. So we streamed on Saturday. So last stream was about in this candle. Actually, I'll do it on the 1 hour here. So we were in this right about this area here. So what I was saying was, it comes about the midpoint of this resistance area, which we've had on the daily time frame, and then we should probably find a bit of resistance here. So what did we do? Well, we obviously came out a little bit more, and then we actually hit that point at amateurs, training the amateurs. We actually hit that point, and obviously we come down. So that's kind of pretty much exactly what I said. Printing, and this is the beauty of this point as well. On the 4 hour, really having a nice print there at that midpoint. Whatever though, we found resistance, and then importantly as well is how we responded off this area. Very expansive from that area. I think this is a very good response from resistance, especially a higher time frame resistance like the daily resistance. Because obviously this one, we have that move upwards into this area, and then we print right through everything, and then we come back upwards to midpoint. So that's kind of what it is. Importantly as well, we have a move upwards which comes past this here, and then obviously we have this green move upwards, and then we are obviously printing through this area. So we not only have this high, which I don't think's whatever important, but it could also be resistance at 43 cents. So anyway, resistance. So obviously we've had this reversal. In terms of the 4 hour, again, we have a major low to our high here. There are technical lows here. For example, this one we have started to expand, so we probably might see some resistances, especially considering we have these highs here with this, and we have this gap. I do want to see where this results in. It kind of results a bit higher here. Now, interestingly as well, we have this massive expansion downwards, small upwards into this area here, and then a massive dump, with this move. So, you can see we have that, that actual retracement into this area, and then a massive dump responding off of that. So I definitely think it would be a responsible area. I'm just going to mark out the low of it there, which is also where the gap proceeds, which is also, actually, you know what? No. I'm being schizophrenic here in terms of where I place my things, but whatever. In terms of the highest or low, it is actually within validity area of 43.5. So we could maybe see something there, especially considering the fact that we have this range here, which also we can kind of potentially see we had a difficulty there. And we have used previous gaps as multiple times over as resistance, so that's potential. So we have something potentially in there, 43, at least a print below. I'm not saying we can't wick above some of these highs as well, but I definitely think this area here should be pretty interesting for this retracement. But again, like I said, in terms of major lows, I would argue this would be a major low here. What I would also argue is the fact that we could potentially be having the support in this area. I'm trying to see what we did on some of these time frames. I want to see actually on the daily here. What do we have? Let's see. So we have this negative candle. And then it doesn't really do. It kind of comes past this low, and then we print above it. So it could arguably be something within that realm, which we can see we kind of came onto here. We can see we kind of formed it and then used it, and then came up and used it. maybe something there, whatever. We've found an area to stop at. Now, again, like I said, we haven't done that major low realistically, but again, obviously, you know, oh, head and shoulders, guys, here we go, you know, oh, you know, melting, my brain's melting out my ear, head and shoulders, oh, look, guys, go head and shoulders. That's not, I'm not insulting anybody with that accent, it's just, you know, it's my interpretation of, I don't know. Anyway, we have that, obviously, so potential there for a move downwards, even though we haven't done that major low. But again, I don't want to be a stickler when it comes to, because again, Solana, we hadn't had that major low yet, and we still came downwards from that area. So I think I should just look structurally. I think structurally we've had a considerable comparative to, you know, some of what we had over here. You know, we had a move up, move down, move up, move down. We kind of had it all move down, move upwards, and then we've had this massive move, this strong-headed move downwards. I think is a bit telling. Anyway, I want to have a quick look at CRO. I'm not going to spend that much time. I don't remember. Number one, I don't remember what I said. I think I said coming to at least 15 cent for this move. Obviously, we've already come to it previously because we had obviously this coming past all this over here, move up, move downwards, printing through it, and then we found resistance. I want to see if we can come into it. Although now I'm saying that, arguably, now that I'm thinking about that, the idea that we come into a order block with a candle and then we eventually print through it, should spawn the idea of a propulsion block. And as we can see with the open of it, we can kind of see we did actually use it. Anyway, whatever. We came down. We printed a new low. Okay, let's see. Boom, gap, print down, pass low, move upwards, support on this high, as you can see. Support on this high, reverse, so resistance on the low. Resistance on the low within this area, coming to 14 cent. If we have retracement, 14 cent could be a good area. Boom. New lows. New lows. So Crow's in a horrible position. So yeah, good luck to the Crow holders. Which my heart goes out to you. Anyways, I have 40 seconds left. I know. I think I started the stream a bit late. It's 10 o'clock. It's 10:02. This has been the first time in I don't even know when I've actually been able to do the stream and not go 15 minutes over, which has been beautiful. Nothing in the square chat. Thank you, Kishan, for saying the kind words. I took long in fork streams on Bitcoin now. Hope, and this thing, it's like, I think it obviously depends on when you'll get. If you're long into 150k, I wish you the best. You know what I mean? I wish you the best. Because obviously I know you're saying 150k. If it's a long towards, you know, relative highs, I agree with you. You know what I mean? You might as well get in. You might as well. Who cares about these little moments? You might as well get in. Get in, get out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, fine. I mean, I think relative to what we've done, yeah, that makes sense. If it's relative to what we've done, something move down, move upwards, move lower, and then a lower move upwards, yeah. And then, obviously, KB confirming that it was on Bitcoin. So, monthly. Let's go to monthly. I want to do a different chart because this is very messy. Okay. Now, let me remember. Okay, I remember what that means now, and I'm not going to say it. I remember what that means now, and I'm not going to say it on stream. I remember what that means. Now, I think what that means is you take the previous candle's high and the low. Now, I think that was a bad thing. Now, I'm trying to think. I think it was a bad thing, as the name might suggest. And I think it might mean, especially considering we've just come from a high point and it's a negative closing candle, I would expect that candle would suggest a down move. Now, I'm not going to put words into your system, but is that the ilk of what you would have said anyway? I remember now. You know what? Because I first read, because I said monthly, and then I stopped speaking because I couldn't remember what it meant, and it's all come flooding back to me now. It's all come flooding back to me, and I assume correct. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think, and I think relative to the monthly as well, it's like, you know, we do have. Obviously, if I mark this out and obviously go to the weekly, it's like this is a bit high, and this is why I was saying as well. I'm looking at 90k, but I'm also looking at this low because not only does this low is a major low, but also it's coming into the fact that we have a bit of a weekly thing here. But again, it's not that major. And obviously, we want the idea of or I want the idea of words have gone out of mind. Confluence. consistency, if you will, where the reason I was really looking at this area was for we had these two down moves, which have this wick below these lows into this gap, whatever exact area it is, and then we have this massive move upwards. So starting on the high of that, being at about 88k. I know it's 88k, I know I'm saying 90k. I'm saying it's an aggressive reversal card. That is a good net. Yeah, that's so much better. That is so much better. Yes. Aggressive reversal card. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's a lot better. I mean, we even did it on the weekly, if you look here, technically. I mean, I think anyway. Again, actually, I think I read the book again recently, because I know I found the playlist of videos because I wanted to watch it, and I remember you saying, obviously, if you want me to if I wanted to see any more videos, you would send it to me, but I thought that is a lot of hassle for you, so I thought I would rather look for it online to see if I could find out, and I couldn't really find the PDF. So I know the basic. I think I have a different profile just for looking at the indicators you gave me, thank you very much, and the PDF basis. I know it's a very surface level of what you trade, which is, but I enjoy looking at it in a second light. I think it helps a lot. But anyway, I don't know, and this is the thing. Obviously, I don't know if it's a does it have to be a certain print for the previous candle, or is it literally just take the high and the low in terms of this? You know what I mean? So that is something I would be interested in looking at. And we also have it here. You know what I mean? And yeah. You know what? It's actually, no, I'm stupid. This is no, I'm stupid. That's not good. Can I have it there as well? I'm going off topic now, but high and lows and close through liquidity gap. Okay. Oh, okay. So because each candle producing from another candle could potentially produce a gap. So I assume that being where the candle prints from the previous candles, in the sense of printing, like where you have this area and then like a print up here, you'd have to print through it. Is that what that means? So this, yeah, weekly 6th of October. This being this candle, which we have these two highs here, as well. Okay, wait, let me delete this. Which one did I draw here? Let me see. This being right. So this would be. So it would. Okay, right. Okay, right. Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I can see it. So I mean, it's nice to know there's consistency between multiple methodologies and maybe where their locations could lie. Obviously, I think on the way down, we definitely have different targets. Just based on the weekly, we obviously have had this previous area I've marked out previously with this move from coming into this gap area with this candle moving upwards. We have had this area here. Obviously, we have seen it previously. We've come towards that midpoint previously. And I think on the surface level, and you know, it's what's the word? Give or take, not give or take. It's I think yeah, it's give or take. Relative, because it's not pinpoint, and sometimes you get pinpoint, sometimes you don't, you know, in terms of where that midpoint is, in terms of, oh yeah, we used that high and then we used that midpoint, and we did this here actually on the daily, I think, where we came down top end, came to midpoint, came down, reversed it, found resistance. So that sort of methodology, obviously, and my point I'm going on to before I get sidetracked is we definitely have areas on the way down, but I think the outlying main area for me is definitely going to be. Now I know the range is large between 98k. Actually, I do want to see where that I do want to see where this lies. Yeah, you see that low is technically within equilibrium, so it can go. The low can go as high as 98k, but I think for actual confluence, because this is just a low realistically. I know we have this gap, and we could use it again, but the confluence of what we have here, considering we have a support point and a gap, which the ideology on the system basically is this is actually could be a strong area for support, being about 90k. Obviously, you know, it's more about where the confluence is and more about where the strength in support is going to be. So again, these lows are definitely going to be targets, I think, for external points to target to. Obviously, again, in a range, you know, I think some people say external range and internal range, liquidity, or external targets, internal targets, or external points of interest, internal points of interest. Whenever I say, I prefer the word points of interest when it comes to support, resistance, or liquidity and all this. I just like saying point of interest. It sounds like I'm not speaking like slop out my mouth. You know what I mean? I'm not speaking crap. It just sounds better anyway. So in terms of those sorts of external areas, if we are starting a downtrend, it would definitely be the 103k, where that midpoint of the support is, which obviously we've seen previously, and we have all these. We have this sets of lows Monday. Every candle starts on a Monday. It's a weekly candle. The 27th, the 13th, and the 6th. We definitely have this to get past. I think that's going to be a good target. initially. Obviously, I've already talked about us wicking past this high, printing through this. This is resistance. Again, you can see, this candle here, we came through it. We obviously came back up into it. And again, on the lower time frames, there's different reasons. But on the weekly anyway, 112 basically is resistance. Obviously, this is why I was talking about it on my stream as well. Actually, I don't know where the low exactly is. I think it's 111.6, I think. So we do have that resistance. So we are starting to build up difficulty on the way upwards, and we are starting to break through what was difficult to get through on the way downwards. So I definitely think we are starting to change a bit. Anyway, I'm yapping a bit. It's 10 past 10 now. I am gonna start to say bid my farewells for this stream. So yeah. Anyway, let me delete this. So that's it from the stream. It is Monday. I was really loud. Hopefully that wasn't too loud on the microphone. I am recording tomorrow. Actually, no, I'm recording tomorrow at 3. So, I mean, I wouldn't stream tomorrow anyway. I've just streamed today, and what I've said will happen over the period. I obviously will be back on Wednesday for the Maple quiz. It's going to be a proper Maple quiz, because obviously we're professionals at Crypto Warehouse, as you could clearly tell by the way I act and the way the layout looks and everything. Clearly we're professional. So we'll have that, but also it's going to be a new quiz with new questions. So it's not going to be the same slop over and over again. So it might be a bit difficult. It might be a bit more difficult, a bit more, actual, fun and whatnot. We've obviously had quite a lot of fun with our Halloween quizzes and the cat quizzes. I mean, this thing about Mew, like Mew is literally like the partnership we have is like, I don't know. It's pretty dead. So it was a lot of fun to do that cat quiz, but obviously, I'll be doing on Wednesday. I'll obviously be back on Thursday. So, like I did with the other in Telegram, posting charts. If anything is interesting happening, like targets and whatnot, obviously I will try and keep it posted. But obviously, I will try and re-up the Discord. Obviously, if people actually want to be on the Discord, I think it'd be nice. I mean, again, I'm. My phone, it doesn't really notify me on Telegram anyway. My phone just doesn't notify me on Telegram or Discord. It's even worse on Discord. I don't get any notifications, but I'll see if I can fix it up a bit, because we've got some old chats in there. I think we've got some old areas. We've got some old people. We had a guy called Raf, which we were trying to partner with for a management, and that fell down the drain. I think he's in the Discord, so yeah, we might have to clean it up a bit, if you know what I mean. But I'll see if I can get Discord sorted and be in the Discord. So anyways, I will leave you guys to enjoy the rest of your Monday evening. Okay, thank you, all of you, for being in the stream, spending time watching me go through the charts. Okay, like I said, I'll be back on Wednesday, recording the thing tomorrow. I don't know when it's going to be out, but it'll be out at some point. It's going to be a big one. Compute for AI, X402. Payment required, 402 HTTP request. Pretty big, pretty interesting. Or it might not be interesting. I mean, it depends on if you know what it means. It's going to be a bit of a techie one, because again, the reason I'm doing it focused on 402, because they're getting really heavily involved, because it allows for AI to really get involved with online payments, and not just in crypto, but as a whole. So I definitely have a really good target. So if you know a bit about AI, how AIs function, how you can actually apply functionality to AI, like what you actually have to do that, I'm going to ask some questions about that. Obviously ask some questions about 402 and kind of the integration with AI. So if you're interested in that, and you know what I've just said means, then I would definitely recommend watching that interview, which obviously I will keep posted as we upload it. So yeah, I'll be recording that tomorrow, so I won't be streaming tomorrow, but obviously be back on Wednesday. So other than that, thank you. Like I said, see you guys next time. See you guys on Telegram. See you guys in the Discord. And that is it for me. Thank you. Goodbye.